wasn't sure there was going to be a sparring match agreement that we'll spar for a while. I wasn't sure. I was honest about it. That's why he said it's going to go rounds. I wasn't sure if there was an understanding that, we'll play a little bit and then we'll get a little more and, whatever. So that was part of it.
Has had double jaw surgery, 4 plates, 8 screws in his, and everybody is just kind of breezing past that like it's no big deal. But I'm looking further into this because that's no easy surgery, and I'm starting to ask the question, is this the beginning of the end of Jake Paul's boxing career?
As his brother, I was just shocked. I'm in the hospital with the guy, and he's like, yo, can you make this TikTok? Can you film this for me? He's like laughing and having a good time.
Does not have any agenda against Anthony Joshua, because it feels to me like that fight, before the fight, I was refusing to accept the principle that this fight could be scripted.
The boxing world has exploded after the fight, with some fans even saying Anthony Joshua should be arrested for what happened to Jake Paul. Experts criticized AJ after Jake suffered serious injuries, including a broken jaw that needed surgery and metal screws. Many called the fight a dangerous mismatch, saying Joshua's power and aggression were too much. The damage shocked fans and professionals, starting big debates about fighter safety and matchmaking in major boxing events.
Away from the power, you could call it running, and you'll be right. You can also say it's smart for a guy Jake's size and understanding that AJ is a fucking monster. It's also smart to fight that way. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing. It was not.
Analysts Brian Campbell and Shaka Majwi broke down Jake Paul's fight against Anthony Joshua, focusing on strategy and the punishment Jake took. They pointed out that Joshua's power caused heavy damage, including shots that led to jaw surgery. To survive, Jake relied on movement, constantly circling the ring to stay away from the ropes. While it wasn't aggressive, this approach helped him last longer than expected. They explained that Jake's footwork saved energy and reduced some damage, but Joshua's strength still left clear injuries. The breakdown showed how defense matters in boxing.
This be the end for him in terms of what he's doing in the boxing ring?
Listen, so long as people will tune in and so long as Jake Paul is paid by Netflix or any broadcaster to air his fights, we're going to see this continue. And Jake Paul knows his business model, right? Now, this deviated, this AJ fight, which came together kind of last minute after the Tank Davis fight fell apart. But we know Jake Paul's MO here. It's find the most popular guy with the most physical disadvantages for me to fight. And Jake Paul has the benefit that he's turned himself into a villain, or in the pro wrestling circles, a heel. People tune in to watch. We did not tune into this fight to see competitive boxing. Most of us tuned in because we thought, here's Anthony Joshua. Here's a 2-time unified heavyweight champion, a guy who physically just overwhelms Jake Paul. And we're finally going to get what Tyron Woodley and Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz were not physically fit, whether it be through their size, experience, or age to do, and that is knock out Jake Paul. And so because I don't really feel like we got that satisfying comeuppance that a lot of people have been waiting for, it kind of gives Jake Paul a little bit of mystique, I'd almost say, to still try and string this along. Now, I don't know in terms, he says he wants to be cruiserweight champion. I'm not quite sure what the competitive road there is, because let's make no mistake, the reason this fight lasted as long as it did is because Jake Paul focused exclusively on being elusive. He did his best, and kudos to him, right? He did a great job of not getting cornered. He was always on the gas until the gas sort of fell out from underneath him. And so I don't quite know, short of leveraging his popularity, how he's going to get to that title shot if he's not actually going to fight, like really fight an elite boxer. But if he's looking to make money, there's the KSI fight out there. There's the Tommy Fury rematch. There is ways for Jake Paul to...
Former UFC champion Michael Bisping reacted strongly to Jake Paul's loss, calling it a lesson in real professional boxing. He said Jake was clearly outmatched by Joshua's speed, power, and accuracy. AJ's combinations and uppercuts left Jake with little space to escape, exposing weaknesses in his defense. Bisping explained that the broken jaw and punishment came from facing a bigger, stronger, and more skilled opponent than Jake had ever faced. He added that hype and confidence can't prepare someone for elite heavyweight boxing. While Jake survived the rounds,
my humble opinion, because I'm a big Anthony Joshua fan. Of course, I've been a supporter for the longest time. A rather lackluster, unmotivated Anthony Joshua that didn't look like he was being particularly nasty, right? a lot of the time he was out of range, and okay, it is hard to land a shot on someone that's backing up and moving away the whole time. And there was a lot of times where he had him in the corner and he could have thrown a shot. And sometimes he was telegraphing his shots. And anytime he did go in to throw a punch, as I said before, Jake Paul would shoot in and turn it into a wrestling match. And even when he wasn't shooting in, he was clinching a lot. This is boxing. It's not MMA, as we know. The referee should have done a much better job of getting in there and separating them much, much faster. As I say, it was the 6th round. I think it was the 4th round he got dropped twice. In the 5th round, he got through it. In the 6th round, caught him with the jab, then a glancing right hook. He goes down, and that was that. That was all she wrote, right? I did a live. There was about 9,000 people watching at one point. Nobody was particularly enjoying the matchup. Listen, okay? I respect both men. I respect anyone really that steps into the ring, okay? And certainly going up against Anthony Joshua, that was a tall task, okay? You know, metaphorically and figuratively, right? It was a tall task. It was a big job. It was a tough opponent. It was a mismatch, and it was, right? Jake Paul never worried Anthony Joshua once. He never rung his bell. He never caused any damage. He never had him worried. He never did anything. It wasn't a fight. It was a display of how long can Jake Paul last? Can he run away long enough to...
After the huge Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight, reports claimed both fighters earned around $92 million each, making it one of the biggest boxing paydays ever on Netflix. But Joshua's earnings were hit hard by taxes. As a UK resident fighting in the US, he must pay both American and UK taxes, which could take nearly $66 million. That leaves him with much less than the headline number. Jake Paul, based in the US, avoids the extra UK tax and keeps more of his money despite losing. The situation shows how taxes can drastically change.
Has to pay, as you see here, a whopping $43 million, $43 million of his $92 million purse. That means Anthony Joshua was left with $49 million. Right? Now, he also has to pay, I believe, 10% of that to his promoter, Matchroom CEO and promoter Eddie Hearn.
Dominic Engel gave a very honest view of Jake Paul's broken jaw fight against Anthony Joshua. He said Jake's main goal was to avoid exchanges instead of trading punches, which made it harder for Joshua to trap him. Even after taking a strong right hand, Jake didn't panic, showing toughness. Engel explained that Joshua didn't need to go full force because the fight was under control. He compared it to times when even elite fighters don't look explosive because of the opponent.